In 1513, an Ottoman admiral drew a coastline that some believe is Antarctica. The problem is, Antarctica would not be officially discovered for more than 300 years. If this alignment is real, then someone mapped part of the frozen continent long before modern exploration. 6 years before Europeans officially reached the Pacific Ocean, another map maker drew it separating the Americas from Asia. And in 1402, Korean scholars depicted Africa with proportions more accurate than most European maps of the same era. Again and again, ancient maps appear to show knowledge that seems ahead of its time. If this coastline is Antarctica in 1513, history is wrong. If it's not, millions have been fooled. Before we jump to conclusions, we need rules. Because ancient maps can deceive you. Projection distortions, copying errors, and artistic assumptions can make something ordinary look extraordinary. So we're doing this differently. For each map, we start with what looks impossible. Then we look at what professional historians and cartographers actually say. And finally, we isolate what, if anything, still doesn't sit comfortably. No exaggeration, no mythology, no blind dismissal. Just evidence, context, and the uncomfortable gray areas in between. Fact Story History. Number 10 takes us to the year 1500. This is the first map in history to use the name America, created by German cartographer Martin Waldseemüller, working in a small scholarly academy in Lorraine. But here's where it becomes strange. The map shows a massive ocean separating the Americas from Asia. 6 years before Europeans officially reached the Pacific, Balboa would not sight that ocean until 1513. So how did Waldseemüller know to draw open water here? The answer is less dramatic than it sounds. By 1507, educated Europeans already knew the Earth was round. Amerigo Vespucci had written that the newly discovered lands were not Asia, but an entirely separate continent. If that was true, then logic demanded another ocean between them. Waldseemüller wasn't revealing secret knowledge. He was making an educated projection. And notice something important. The Pacific's size on this map is wildly inaccurate. He guessed correctly that water existed, but not its scale. Interestingly, in later editions, he removed the name America. Perhaps he reconsidered his sources, or perhaps politics shifted. But nothing here suggests forbidden cartographic knowledge. Verdict: this map reflects bold reasoning built on new exploration reports. Waldseemüller deduced what must exist, not what he secretly knew. Smart deduction, not lost civilization, not hidden voyages, just a scholar connecting the dots. In 1502, a map was stolen. Not copied, not borrowed, stolen. This is the Cantino planisphere, a cartographic secret smuggled out of Lisbon. Alberto Cantino, a secret agent, bought this map for the Duke of Ferrara for 12 gold ducats. Look closely at Brazil. By 1502, Portugal had officially reached this coastline only 2 years earlier. The secret was political. The Treaty of Tordesillas had divided the world between Spain and Portugal. Every coastline was territory. Portugal was exploring aggressively, mapping with military precision. This map shows classified data. Portugal guarded these charts under penalty of death. Compared to others of the era, this map was light years ahead in geographical detail. The verdict? This map isn't ancient mystery, it's high-stakes political intelligence. A snapshot of a world being redefined by secrecy and strategy. Not ancient knowledge, but empire building. In 1402, Korean scholars produced a world map that would quietly challenge European assumptions. The Kangnido map was created during the early Joseon dynasty, synthesizing centuries of global knowledge. But what surprises modern viewers is not Korea. It is the remarkably accurate shape of Africa. At the time, European maps still misrepresented the continent, but Korea's version was far closer to reality. The secret wasn't mystery, but networks. Information traveled along trade routes from the Islamic world to China and Korea. Islamic cartographers had mapped East Africa through centuries of maritime trade, preserving Greek geographic knowledge. The Kangnido was a synthesis. Its creators openly compiled earlier Chinese and Islamic materials into a single world view. Trade moves more than goods. It moves data. Maps are rarely born from a single voyage, but from accumulated memory. It wasn't perfect. Europe remains distorted, but it represents a global information network long before the Age of Discovery. Korea did not secretly explore Africa. It inherited and organized the world's collective geographic wisdom. Verdict: the Kangnido demonstrates the power of interconnected scholarship across Eurasia centuries ago. No mystery, no hidden civilization, just the power of shared knowledge moving across trade routes and empires. In 1558, a Venetian nobleman published a map that rewrote the North Atlantic. Niccolo Zeno claimed it was based on letters from his ancestors. At the center of the controversy sits a place called Friesland, an island that does not exist. Yet for 2 centuries, major cartographers kept including it. Even Gerardus Mercator took it seriously, but Friesland is only part of the story. The map also shows a land called Estotaland. Some argue this resembles Newfoundland. In 1960, Norse remains were confirmed at Lanceau Meadows. We know Vikings reached North America around the year 1000. So pre-Columbus Atlantic crossings were real, and parts of the Greenland coastline on this map are surprisingly detailed, more detailed than some earlier European maps. But Friesland itself is wildly distorted. There is no submerged lost island in that position. So was the entire map a hoax? Possibly embellished, but not necessarily fabricated from nothing. Venice had commercial connections across northern Europe. Information about Norse voyages could have circulated. Icelandic sagas describing western lands already existed. Estotaland may reflect fragmented Norse memory, but the map also misplaces and exaggerates distances. Longitude remains inaccurate. This is not a precision navigation chart. It reads more like a family legend merged with geography. Genuine Norse memory may be present, but Friesland undermines full credibility. So what do we conclude? Verdict: the Zeno map is likely embellished, but not entirely invented. Fragments of authentic North Atlantic knowledge probably survived, mixed with distortion, myth, and Renaissance ego. Part truth, part legend, not proof of a rewritten timeline. In 1569, Gerardus Mercator drew an Arctic that no European had ever seen. At the center of the world, he placed a massive black mountain, Rupes Nigra. He believed this black rock was a magnetic giant that pulled all compasses toward it. Surrounding it were 4 islands, divided by powerful rivers flowing outward into the sea. But modern satellites show a very different reality. There is no magnetic mountain. Mercator's source was a lost 14th century travelogue called the Inventio Fortunata. Later explorers found only ice, no rivers, no whirlpools, and no central black peak. It was a blend of limited geographical data and deep-rooted medieval symbolism. The Rupes Nigra belongs to the history of imagination, not the history of geology. If you love history without the hype, subscribe to FactStoryHistory. Comment below. Which historical mystery should we investigate next? Around 1450, a Venetian monk drew one of the most detailed world maps of the medieval era. And he did something immediately unsettling. He placed south at the top, not by mistake but by design. Africa dominates the upper portion. Its proportions are remarkably coherent for the mid-15th century. And here lies the controversy. The map suggests Africa could be circumnavigated, yet Bartolomeo Dias would not round the Cape until 1488. Framoro even referenced a ship sailing beyond the southern limit decades earlier. Was this proof of a secret European voyage, or was the explanation already circulating in Arab trade networks? Islamic cartographers had mapped East Africa through centuries of maritime exchange. Arab merchants understood monsoon winds and coastal routes long before Portuguese fleets arrived. Venice was connected to these networks. Information flowed through merchants, diplomats, and scholars. Framaro cited numerous sources in his annotations, over 3,000 notes referencing travelers and earlier authorities. Marco Polo, Eastern accounts, Islamic navigators. The southern tip of Africa was not unknowable. Monsoon wind systems allowed predictable navigation along the East African coast, so the idea of sailing around Africa was plausible. But documented proof of European circumnavigation before Dias does not exist. The map suggests possibility, not confirmation. Its circular design reflects synthesis rather than exploration. It is a compilation, a merging of European, Arab, and Asian knowledge. The south-up orientation reflects Islamic cartographic influence, a tradition long established outside Western Europe. This was not a map breaking history's timeline. Verdict. Framoro created a strong synthesis map, built on extensive trade knowledge, suggesting plausibility, not secret discovery. Impressive, but not revolutionary in the way modern myths suggest. Framoro's work reminds us that medieval geography was far more interconnected and sophisticated than we often assume, and that knowledge can travel long before ships carrying flags arrive. In 1559, an Ottoman cartographer drew the Pacific Ocean with surprising detail. The western coastline of the Americas appears clearly defined, at a time when European surveys were still incomplete. The Ottoman Empire had no Pacific fleet. Its naval power centered on the Mediterranean and Black Sea. Meanwhile, Portugal and Spain were aggressively exploring new routes. Portuguese charts were treated as state secrets. Navigation data was guarded under penalty of death. Yet trade networks connected Europe and the Ottoman world. Captured vessels and intercepted cargo often included maps. The Pacific coastline here does not imply secret Ottoman exploration. It closely resembles contemporary Portuguese charts. Longitude remains imperfect. The scale of the Pacific is still misunderstood. Asia's eastern shores show influence from European navigation. By the mid-16th century, information was circulating faster than ships. Data flowed through merchants, diplomats, and spies. Ahmed was compiling knowledge, not discovering new continents. Cartography in this era was competitive and interconnected. Maps were composites built from multiple sources, impressive for its time, but not ahead of global knowledge networks. There is no evidence of secret Ottoman Pacific voyages. Verdict. The Ahmed map reflects intelligence exchange, Portuguese and Spanish information leakage, global information networks, not impossibility, strategy over myth. Empires did not hide ancient secrets. They guarded competitive advantages. In 1737, a French geographer drew Antarctica as two separate land masses. In 1737, a French geographer drew Antarctica as two separate land masses, divided by a channel running across the continent. Divided by a channel running across the continent. At the time, Antarctica had not yet been officially discovered. At the time, Antarctica had not yet been officially discovered. European confirmation would not come until 1820. European confirmation would not come until 1820. Modern seismic surveys reveal that West Antarctica sits below sea level. Modern seismic surveys reveal that West Antarctica sits below sea level, and the Transantarctic Mountains divide east from west. And the Transantarctic Mountains divide east from west, which sounds remarkably similar to Buache's depiction. Which sounds remarkably similar to Buache's depiction. So how did he know? So how did he know? Philippe Buache was not a mystic. Philippe Buache was not a mystic. He was a member of the French Academy of Sciences. He was a member of the French Academy of Sciences, and he was known for theoretical geography. And he was known for theoretical geography. 18th century geographers often assumed continental symmetry. 18th century geographers often assumed continental symmetry. If the Arctic had straits and islands. If the Arctic had straits and islands. The Antarctic might as well. The Antarctic might as well. He hypothesized a polar basin structure. He hypothesized a polar basin structure. Modern geology shows submerged basins do exist. Modern geology shows submerged basins do exist. But the details do not perfectly align. But the details do not perfectly align. Buache's map lacks precise coastal accuracy. Buache's map lacks precise coastal accuracy. No one in 1737 had seismic instruments. No one in 1737 had seismic instruments. Confirmation required 20th century drilling and radar. Confirmation required 20th century drilling and radar. The resemblance is structural, not precise. The resemblance is structural, not precise. Coincidence or calculated reasoning? Coincidence or calculated reasoning? Theoretical geography often produced surprisingly accurate large-scale structures. Theoretical geography often produced surprisingly accurate large-scale structures, but without detailed measurement. But without detailed measurement. Verdict. Verdict. Philippe Buache likely constructed a theoretical Antarctic model. Philippe Buache likely constructed a theoretical Antarctic model. One that coincidentally resembles modern structural divisions. One that coincidentally resembles modern structural divisions. A lucky structural insight. A lucky structural insight. Not proof of hidden ice-free surveys. Not proof of hidden ice-free surveys. Impressive reasoning, not lost civilization. Impressive reasoning, not lost civilization. In 1531, French mathematician Waldseemüller drew a continent at the bottom of the world. A massive landmass stretching across the southern pole. It was called Terra Australis, the unknown southern land. The idea did not begin with fine. Greek scholars theorized that a southern continent must exist to balance the north. By the Renaissance, Terra Australis had become standard cartographic theory. But Fane's version appears detailed. Mountain ranges are drawn across the interior. Rivers appear to flow toward the coast, and this is where people claim something extraordinary. They argue these features resemble subglacial Antarctic mountains. At first glance, it feels convincing, but scale and coastline proportions are dramatically inaccurate. The coastlines do not match modern surveys. The mountains follow artistic conventions of the era. Stylized ridges were common on unexplored territories. The rivers are symmetrical and ornamental. They follow visual logic, not hydrological logic. In 1929, a fragment of a 1513 Ottoman map was rediscovered in Istanbul's Topkapi Palace, signed by Admiral Piri Reis, an experienced naval officer and cartographer. But the lower section of this fragment sparked controversy. Some claim this coastline is Antarctica. Official European discovery would not occur until 1820. The boldest claim goes further, that the map shows Antarctica without its ice sheet, matching subglacial landforms confirmed centuries later. A 1960 letter from a U.S. Air Force officer is often cited, suggesting a resemblance to seismic data. But this is where the narrative often stretches. The southern section is fragmented and incomplete. Many historians argue it more closely resembles an extended South American coast. Projection distortion can dramatically alter apparent shape. Without forced rotation, the Antarctic alignment weakens. The fragment does not show a complete Antarctic outline. Piri Reis himself explained his sources. He compiled around 20 earlier maps. Including charts attributed to Christopher Columbus, the Piri Reis map is a composite. Its Atlantic sections are impressively accurate for 1513. West Africa and parts of South America show strong correlation. But the Antarctic interpretation requires assumptions and selective alignment. There is no verified evidence of a 16th century Antarctic survey, but that does not diminish this map. It remains one of the most sophisticated early modern composites. Verdict: the Antarctica interpretation is likely a misidentification, but the map itself is historically remarkable, a testament to how knowledge traveled across cultures through exchange, compilation, and ambition. Not lost civilizations, history is not undone by impossible maps. It is illuminated by how carefully we examine them. If you value history examined without hype, subscribe to FactStoryHistory and comment below. Which of these maps deserves a deeper investigation next? Because curiosity is stronger when it's disciplined. These maps don't prove lost civilizations. They prove something more powerful. Knowledge travels further than we think, and history is rarely as simple as we're taught.